Ethan's small hands shook as he gripped the handles of two brown suitcases. They were heavy, too heavy for a 7-year-old boy. But he didn't put them down, not even for a second. The morning sun was bright and warm on his face, but inside his chest, everything felt cold and dark. His heart beat fast like a tiny drum. Thump, thump, thump. He could hear it in his ears. The taxi had just driven away. Now Ethan stood alone at the bottom of a long driveway. In front of him was the biggest house he had ever seen. It had tall white walls, shiny windows, and a red door that looked like it belonged in a castle. This was his father's house. His father, Marcus, had told him on the phone last week, "Come home, Ethan. Come stay with me. I miss you so much." Those words had made Ethan smile for the first time in months. Ever since his mother died, nothing had felt right. The world had turned gray and quiet. His mother's laugh was gone. Her warm hugs were gone. Her good night kisses were gone. But now his father wanted him. That had to mean something good, right? Ethan took a deep breath and started walking up the driveway. His suitcases bumped against his legs with each step. One suitcase had his clothes. The other had his favorite teddy bear. 3 books his mother used to read to him, and a photo of her smiling in the sunshine. When he reached the red door, he put down one suitcase and knocked 3 times, soft and polite, just like his mother had taught him. The door swung open fast. A tall woman stood there. She had sharp eyes that looked at Ethan like he was a bug on the floor. Her lips were pressed into a thin line. She wore a black dress and had her hair pulled back, so tight it made her face look mean. "Yes," she said. Her voice was cold like ice water. "Hello," Ethan said quietly. His voice was small and nervous. "Ivetan. I'm here to see my dad. Marcus. He said I could come stay." The woman's eyes got even colder. She looked at his suitcases. She looked at his messy hair. She looked at his worn-out shoes. "I don't know who you are," she said slowly, "but you are not welcome here." Ethan felt his stomach drop. But my dad said, "Your dad." The woman laughed, but it wasn't a nice laugh. It was the kind of laugh that hurt. "Mr. Marcus doesn't have a son. I've worked here for 3 years. He never mentioned any child." Tears started to fill Ethan's eyes. "But I am his son. He called me. He told me to come." "Lies," the woman snapped. She stepped closer. Ethan stepped back. "You're probably just some street kid trying to trick your way into a rich man's house." "Well, it won't work. Not on my watch." "Please," Ethan whispered. His voice cracked. "I have nowhere else to go." The woman's face didn't change. "No caínis. No merci. Nothing. That's not my problem," she said. Then she did something Ethan would never forget. She reached out, grabbed his shoulder with her hard fingers, and pushed. Ethan stumbled backward. His suitcases fell from his hands and hit the ground with loud thuds. He tripped over his own feet and fell onto the dirt driveway. Pain shot through his hands and knees. "Get out of here," the woman shouted. "If I see you on this property again, I'll call the police. Do you hear me? You don't belong here." She slammed the red door so hard it made a sound like thunder. Ethan sat in the dirt, staring at the closed door. His hands were scraped and bleeding a little. His knees hurt, but that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was his heart. It felt like it was breaking into a million tiny pieces. He had thought his father wanted him. He had thought he finally had a place to belong. After his mother died, he had been staying with his aunt, but she didn't really want him either. She was always busy, always tired, always saying she couldn't handle one more thing. So when his father called and said, "Come home," Ethan had felt hope for the first time in forever. But now, he was sitting in the dirt like trash, like he was nothing, like he didn't matter. Ethan pulled his knees to his chest and wrapped his arms around them. He made himself as small as possible. Tears rolled down his cheeks and dripped onto his shirt. He thought about his mother. She would have known what to do. She always knew what to do. She would have picked him up, wiped his tears, and told him everything would be okay. But she wasn't here anymore. Nobody was here. Ethan looked at the road in front of him. Cars drove by, fast and loud. People inside them were going places. They had homes. They had families. What did he have? 2 brown suitcases and a broken heart. The sun kept shining, but Ethan felt colder than ever. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to go. He just sat there in the dirt, next to his fallen suitcases, wishing his mother was still alive, wishing someone, anyone, would tell him he belonged somewhere. The big house with the red door stood tall and silent behind him. Inside, the mean woman went back to her work, not thinking about the little boy she had just thrown away. But what she didn't know was that everything was about to change, because someone was coming, someone who would make her regret what she had just done. Ethan's father was on his way home, and when Marcus saw what had happened to his son, the world would never be the same. Marcus was happy, really, truly happy. He sat in the back of his black car, watching the trees pass by outside the window. His driver, James, drove carefully down the road toward home. Marcus had been away for 2 whole weeks on a business trip, and he was tired of hotels and meetings and strangers. He was ready to be home. But more than that, he was ready to see his son. Ethan was coming today, his little boy, the child he hadn't seen in almost a year because things had gotten so complicated after the divorce. Marcus's heart ached when he thought about it. He had missed so much. Too much. When Ethan's mother died 3 months ago, Marcus had been devastated. Even though they weren't together anymore, he had cared about her, and he knew how much Ethan must be hurting. That's when Marcus made his decision. No more distance. No more missing his son's life. Ethan would come live with him. Forever. "We're almost there, sir," James said from the front seat. "Good," Marcus said with a smile. "I can't wait to see him. I hope he likes his new room. I had it painted blue, his favorite color." James smiled in the rearview mirror. "I'm sure he'll love it, Mr. Marcus." The car turned onto the long driveway. Marcus looked out the window at his house. The white walls, the big windows, the red door. But then he saw something that made his blood turn to ice. A small figure was sitting on the ground near the door, next to 2 brown suitcases. Marcus leaned forward, squinting. His heart started to pound. "James, is that—" "A child, sir," James said, his voice suddenly worried. "It looks like a little boy." "Stop the car," Marcus shouted. James hit the brakes. The car hadn't even stopped completely before Marcus threw open the door and jumped out. He started running up the driveway, his expensive shoes slapping against the pavement. As he got closer, his worst fear became real. It was Ethan. His son was sitting in the dirt, hugging his knees, his face dirty and streaked with tears. His clothes were dusty. His hands looked scraped and hurt. "Ethan!" Marcus yelled. The little boy's head snapped up. When he saw his father running toward him, his eyes went wide. "Dad!" Ethan's voice was small and broken. Marcus dropped to his knees in front of his son. He grabbed Ethan's shoulders gently, looking at his dirty face, his hurt hands, his terrified eyes. "What happened? Why are you out here? Why aren't you inside?" Marcus's voice shook with fear and anger. Before Ethan could answer, the red door opened. The caretaker, Mrs. Vance, stepped out. When she saw Marcus, her face went pale. "Mr. Marcus," she said quickly, "you're home early. I didn't expect. What is my son doing sitting in the dirt?" Marcus roared. He stood up, his body shaking with rage. "Why is he outside? Why is he hurt?" Mrs. Vance's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "You're your son? Sir, I didn't know." "You know?" Marcus took a step toward her. His voice was like thunder. "He came to the door. He told you who he was. And you threw him out like garbage." "Sir, please, let me explain." Mrs. Vance held up her hands. "Explain what?" Marcus shouted. "Explain how you pushed a 7-year-old child? Explain how you left him sitting out here alone and scared." Mrs. Vance's eyes darted around like a trapped animal. "I was protecting the house. You never told me about a son. I thought he was lying. I thought he was trying to trick his way inside. So you pushed him?" Marcus's voice was so loud it echoed off the house. "You put your hands on my child?" Ethan started crying again, quiet sobs that shook his small body. Marcus turned immediately and knelt back down, pulling his son into his arms. "It's okay, buddy," Marcus whispered. "I'm here now. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." James had gotten out of the car and walked up behind them. He looked at Mrs. Vance with disgust in his eyes. "I saw what happened," James said quietly. "I got here about 20 minutes ago to prepare the house for the young master's arrival. I saw her push him out the door. I saw her slam it in his face." Marcus's eyes turned to James. "You saw this?" James nodded. "I tried to intervene, but she locked the door. I was about to call you when you arrived." Marcus stood up slowly. He looked at Mrs. Vance, and his eyes were colder than ice. "You're fired," he said. Each word was sharp and final. Mrs. Vance's face crumbled. "What?" "No, Mr. Marcus, please. I've worked for you for 3 years. I keep this house perfect. I was just trying to—" "You were trying to what?" Marcus stepped closer. "Trying to hurt a child? Trying to break my son's heart? Trying to make him feel worthless?" "I didn't know." Mrs. Vance cried. "You never told me about him. How was I supposed to know?" "He told you," Marcus roared. "He told you he was my son. He told you I invited him. But you didn't believe him because—" "Why?" "Because he's a child? Because he looks scared and small?" Mrs. Vance had tears in her eyes now. "Please, sir, I need this job. I was just being careful. You have so much money. People try to take advantage all the time. I was protecting you." "Protecting me?" Marcus laughed, but it was a bitter, angry sound. "You think I need protection for my own son? You think money is more important than my child?" He turned away from her and picked Ethan up in his arms. The little boy wrapped his arms around his father's neck and buried his face in his shoulder. "James," Marcus said, his voice steady now, "please escort Mrs. Vance off the property. Make sure she takes all her belongings. She has 1 hour." "Yes, sir," James said. "No." Mrs. Vance grabbed Marcus's arm. "Please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake." Marcus looked at her hand on his arm. Then he looked at her face. "You made more than a mistake," he said quietly. "You showed me exactly who you are. And I don't want people like you near my son. Now let go of me." Mrs. Vance dropped her hand. She stood there, shaking, as Marcus carried Ethan toward the red door. "Your mistake," Marcus said over his shoulder, "was thinking that anything in this world is more important than my child. Not money, not safety, not your job, nothing." He walked through the red door with Ethan in his arms. Mrs. Vance stood in the driveway, watching her life fall apart. James stood nearby, his arms crossed, making sure she didn't try anything else. Inside the house, Marcus carried Ethan down the hallway. The little boy was still crying softly, his tears soaking into his father's expensive shirt. "I thought you didn't want me," Ethan whispered. "She said you didn't have a son. She said I was lying." Marcus felt his heart shatter into pieces. "Oh, Ethan," he said, his own voice breaking. "I will always want you. You are the most important thing in my entire life. I'm so sorry this happened. I'm so sorry I wasn't here." "She pushed me, Dad," Ethan said, his voice small and hurt. "She was so mean." "I know, buddy. I know." Marcus held him tighter. "But she's gone now. She'll never hurt you again. I promise." They reached the living room. Marcus sat down on the big couch, still holding Ethan in his lap. He didn't care that his expensive suit was getting dirty. He didn't care about anything except the scared little boy in his arms. "You're safe now," Marcus whispered. "You're home, and I'm never, ever letting anyone hurt you again." Ethan looked up at his father with wet, red eyes. "Really?" he asked. "Can I really stay?" Marcus felt tears start to fill his own eyes. "Forever," he said. "You're staying forever." Outside, they could hear Mrs. Vance arguing with James, her voice getting quieter as she was led away. But inside, father and son held each other close. The nightmare was ending, and something new was about to begin. The house was finally quiet. Mrs. Vance was gone. Her angry voice had faded away as James drove her to the gate and watched her leave. Now there was only peace. The kind of peace that comes after a storm. Marcus sat on the couch, still holding Ethan. The little boy had stopped crying, but he hadn't let go of his father. His small arms were wrapped tight around Marcus's neck, like he was afraid that if he let go, everything would disappear. "Are you hungry, buddy?" Marcus asked softly. Ethan nodded against his father's shoulder. "Okay, let's get you cleaned up first, and then we'll make you the biggest sandwich you've ever seen. How does that sound?" "Okay," Ethan whispered. Marcus stood up, still carrying his son. Ethan was getting big, almost too big to carry, but Marcus didn't care. He would carry him forever if that's what Ethan needed. They walked upstairs together. Marcus pushed open a door, and Ethan lifted his head to look. The room was beautiful. The walls were painted sky blue, just like Marcus had said. There was a big bed with a soft blanket that had stars on it. Shelves lined one wall, waiting for books and toys. A big window looked out over the green valley and the mountains in the distance. "This is your room," Marcus said. "I had it made special for you." Ethan's eyes went wide. "Mine? Really mine? Really yours?" Marcus smiled. "Forever yours. Nobody can take it away. Nobody can tell you to leave." Ethan looked around the room like he couldn't believe it was real. "It's so pretty, Dad." "Not as pretty as you deserve," Marcus said, "but it's a start." He set Ethan down gently and went to the bathroom attached to the room. He turned on the warm water in the sink and brought out a soft towel. "Come here. Let's wash your hands and face." Ethan walked over slowly. Marcus cleaned the dirt from his son's face very carefully. He washed the scrapes on his hand with gentle touches, putting bandages on the worst spots. "There," Marcus said. "All better." Ethan looked at his clean hands. Then he looked up at his father. "Why didn't you tell her about me?" he asked quietly. "The mean lady said you never talked about having a son." Marcus's heart broke all over again. He knelt down so he was eye level with Ethan. "That's my fault," Marcus said honestly. "And I'm so sorry. You see, after your mom and I got divorced, things were complicated. I was traveling a lot for work. Your mom had you living with her, and I got lost in my life. I forgot what was really important." Ethan's bottom lip trembled. "Did you forget about me?" "No," Marcus said quickly, grabbing Ethan's shoulders gently. "Never. Not for one single day. I thought about you every morning when I woke up and every night before I went to sleep. But I was scared." "Scared of what?" Ethan asked. "Scared that I wouldn't be a good dad," Marcus admitted. "Scared that you wouldn't want to live with me. Scared that I had missed too much of your life already." A tear rolled down Ethan's cheek. "I always wanted you, Dad. Even when you weren't there. I always wanted you." Marcus pulled Ethan into a tight hug. His own tears started to fall now. "I'm here now," Marcus whispered, "and I'm never leaving again. Never. Do you understand? You are the most important thing in the entire world to me. More important than money. More important than work. More important than anything." They stayed like that for a long moment, holding each other while tears of sadness and relief mixed together. Finally, Marcus pulled back and wiped Ethan's face with his hand. "Come on," he said with a small smile. "I promised you the world's biggest sandwich, remember?" Ethan smiled too, just a tiny bit. "Yeah." They went downstairs to the kitchen. Marcus made sandwiches with everything he could find: turkey, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, pickles. He cut them into triangles just like Ethan's mom used to do. They sat at the big table together, and Ethan ate like he hadn't eaten in days. Maybe he hadn't. Marcus didn't ask. He just made sure his son had everything he needed. After lunch, James came back inside. "Mrs. Vance is gone, sir," James reported. "She won't be returning." "Thank you, James," Marcus said. Then he looked at his old friend. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about Ethan. I should have. You've been with me for 10 years. You deserve to know." James smiled warmly at Ethan. "I'm just glad the young master is here now. This house has been too quiet for too long. James helped me, didn't he?" Marcus asked Ethan. "When that woman hurt you?" Ethan nodded. He tried to stop her, but she locked the door. Marcus looked at James with gratitude. "Thank you for trying to protect him." "Always, sir," James said. He's family now. That word, family, made Ethan's eyes light up. As the afternoon turned to evening, Marcus and Ethan brought his 2 brown suitcases upstairs. They unpacked together, putting Ethan's clothes in the dresser, his books on the shelf, and his teddy bear on the bed. When they found the photo of Ethan's mother, Marcus held it gently. "She was a wonderful person," Marcus said softly, "and she loved you more than anything." "I miss her," Ethan said, his voice sad. "I know you do," Marcus said, "and it's okay to miss her. It's okay to be sad, but she would want you to be happy too. She would want you to feel safe and loved." "You think she knows I'm here with you?" Ethan asked. Marcus smiled. "I think she knows, and I think she's happy about it." They put the photo on Ethan's nightstand where he could see it every day. As the sun started to set, Marcus built a fire in the big fireplace in the living room. The flames crackled and danced, filling the room with warm light. Ethan curled up next to his father on the couch. Marcus put a soft blanket over both of them. "Dad," Ethan said quietly. "Yeah, buddy? Are you really never going to leave me?" Marcus looked down at his son's worried face. He understood that worry. After everything Ethan had been through, losing his mother, being pushed away by people who should have cared, feeling unwanted and alone, of course he was scared. "I'm really never going to leave you," Marcus said firmly. "I promise on everything I have. You and me, we're a team now, a family, and families stick together no matter what. Even when you have to work?" Ethan asked. "Even then," Marcus nodded. "I'm going to work less. And when I do work, you'll come with me sometimes. Or I'll work from here so I can be with you, whatever it takes. You're my priority now." Ethan smiled, a real smile this time. "I like that." "Me too," Marcus said. They sat by the fire, watching the flames and feeling safe. The house that had felt cold and unwelcoming just hours ago now felt warm and full of love. "You know what?" Marcus said. "Tomorrow we should go shopping. Get you some new clothes, some toys, whatever you want." "Really?" Ethan asked. "Really. And then maybe we can get some paint, and you can help me redecorate. Make this place feel like our home, not just my house." "I'd like that," Ethan said. He yawned, his eyes starting to close. "Tired?" Marcus asked. "A little," Ethan admitted. Marcus carried him upstairs one more time. He tucked Ethan into his new bed with the star blanket and sat on the edge. "Dad," Ethan said sleepily. "Yeah. Thank you for coming home. Thank you for saving me." Marcus felt his throat get tight with emotion. "You don't have to thank me. That's what dads do. They protect their kids. They love them. They make sure they always have a home." "I love you, Dad," Ethan whispered. "I love you too, buddy," Marcus said. "More than you'll ever know." Within minutes, Ethan was asleep. Marcus sat there for a while, just watching his son breathe, making sure he was really okay. Finally, Marcus stood up and walked to the door. He looked back one more time at the little boy sleeping peacefully in the blue room. This morning, his son had been sitting in the dirt, broken and afraid. Tonight, he was safe and loved, and that, Marcus realized, was worth more than all the money in the world. The house had finally become what it was always meant to be, a home. This story reminds us that real wealth isn't measured in money. It's measured in love, protection, and belonging. No child should ever feel unwanted. No child should ever be pushed away. If this story touched your heart, like this video to spread the message that family and kindness matter most. Share it with someone who needs to remember that true home is where love lives. And subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories about courage, redemption, and the strength of the human heart. What would you have done if you were Marcus? Let us know in the comments below. Remember, the greatest gift you can give someone is making them feel like they belong. Stay kind, stay loving, and never forget that people are always more important than possessions. See you in the next story.